What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Let's Talk Tottenham. Today we have another episode of the Tottenham News Digest. So we're going to jump right in. The first thing I wanted to talk about was some news that came straight from the club. And it was a player update about Vertonghen and Michel Vorm, among others. And it says this: we can confirm that defender Vertonghen and goalkeeper Michel Vorm have agreed to extend their existing contracts with the club until the end of the 2019-2020 season. Both players' contracts were due to expire at the end of this month, and this extension means they will now be available to play for us for the remainder of the current Premier League season. My assumption is they've written these contracts in such a way that no matter how long the season goes, if it's extended again or whatnot, that these players will continue to play for Spurs. And they also mentioned the loans of Danny Rose, Kyle Walker-Peters, and others, and how those will be extended as well. One person that was left off was Cameron Carter-Vickers, so I don't know if that was by accident or maybe they just haven't agreed to the deal yet, or maybe he's not wanted. I don't really know. But yeah, I think that's good news for the club. I think it's good news for the players. Certainly helps with the dressing room and things like that, in terms of, players aren't going to be just leaving all of a sudden in what kind of still feels like the middle of the season. So, and this will be super helpful as you look at some of the fixtures, because we've already played the one against Man United. Then coming up, we've got the game tomorrow. But there will be 9 days in between these two games. But then right after that, you've got, July 2nd game, and you've got 3rd, 4th, 5th game on the 6th, 7th, 8th game on the 9th, 10th, 11th game on the 12th. So, and that's against Arsenal. So there's just so many games so quickly. This was, I think, a very important thing to do for the team, not only in case of injuries, but in case of tired legs. Vertonghen is still a great player. I know his legs are not what they used to be, and he's certainly not the player that he used to be, but it's just good to have. He's still very strong with the ball, off the ball, makes great defensive plays. I love Jan, and it's going to be really sad to see him go, I think, at the end of the season. But we have him for now, and that's really good news. The next bit of news I wanted to talk about was regarding Jose Mourinho's press conference. Personally, I watched what Tottenham posted to their YouTube page. I didn't notice it right away, partly because the quality of the video was so terrible. I don't know why. But there was an article put out by NBC Sports and others that said Mourinho goes off in a bizarre rant after Kane questions. And when I watched the one by Spurs, there was no rant. So someone cut that out. I wonder who, maybe did Jose ask for that to be removed, or PR people, who knows. But after watching the original video, after watching the full press conference, and hearing what Mourinho has to say, I do not think this is a bizarre rant. This is par for the course for Jose, certainly. But I also think it was very intentional. He read the statement, and I'll leave some links in the videos. You can see the one by Spurs, the one posted by Beanie Man Sports, which shows the whole press conference. But basically, Jose, I don't want to say he goes after Paul Merson, but he certainly makes a very pointed statement to him. And basically, Paul Merson had some very strong comments for Harry Kane. He said he thinks Harry should have a serious think about his future at the end of the season. I really feel like these statements are made for clicks. They're made for these kind of clips, moments that people can take out and put out there, and I don't think there's much to them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the part that they cut was Jose pushing back on Paul. Basically what Jose was saying was, take a look at how many goals Harry has scored since I've arrived and how many games he's played, which for those stats, when I looked at transfermarket.us, Harry has played 11 games under Jose. He's scored 7 goals. Not bad. So he makes a note of these statistics, and then he goes on and he lists all the great strikers that have ever played for him and how many goals they've scored and what that averages out to. And it's amazingly tedious, and it's so like underhanded. He's like, I think this guy's a great player. And so he's basically, what I like about it is he's basically putting Harry Kane in the category of Drogba, Ronaldo, and Zlatan. And then he ends it with, "Dear Paul, I have lots of respect for you, but basically I disagree with you." So you should watch it for yourself. Kind of fun to see, but certainly something to note. I think it's important. Even I said in my post-match thoughts, which you can watch those right there. But yeah, in my post-match thoughts, I talked about how Harry was only receiving the ball right around the center circle. And I believe there was a statistic that he never touched the ball in Manchester United's half. So obviously that's not what you want to see. But Jose responded to that. He said, look, this guy's not even full fitness. He's already scored 7 in now 11 games. It's not like he's not going to score goals. So fair enough, Jose. Fair enough. I'm not fighting you, but I do think that the players around Harry is what matters, and hopefully, everybody's fit now, so we should start to see maybe more of that service and more of Harry up top and up front scoring goals. But in a game like that, it looks really tough to watch, and that's a top 6 team. So I could understand maybe what Paul Merson was saying about how Harry was being used. I don't agree. I don't think Harry is really thinking about leaving Spurs, at least not at this moment. I think he wants to give a full season to Jose Mourinho and see what happens over the summer. But yeah, Jose was not thrilled, and he had an interesting way of dealing with it and handling it. So the last article that I want to take a look at is this one by The Athletic, titled "Moussa Sissoko, Unreliable to Undroppable." And it was written by the same 2 guys that did the one about Harry Kane, Charlie Eccleshare and Tom Worville. And it's behind a paywall, but it's a good read. One of the things that they have in here is a really cool graphic showing where Moussa Sissoko has changed position over time. And they start with his position in his last season at Newcastle, and they go year on year until you can see where he's at today and in this season. And you start here and you look at how much he's up top, and you can slowly see this progression to him being in this defensive midfield role and even playing a little bit in the right back. And you remember one of my previous videos of talking about the game against Manchester United, I showed how deep he was and how frustrating that is actually for me. I know that he can do it, and I know he does it really well. He's bailed out Trippier, he's bailed out Aurier many a time. But I don't know if that's helpful if he's got to be so deep to really help shuttle that ball back up top. So we're so dependent on him, and he's a great player. And I actually got to meet him once when we were able to go to the one game that I've ever been able to see in person was the Liverpool Spurs match a couple years ago now at Wembley. And yeah, I remember when he first came to Spurs, I was really frustrated because I felt like his touch was terrible. And I didn't even feel like that. It was obvious. He almost, it seemed like he had, cinder blocks for shoes, the way that he'd receive the ball and just with one touch kick it like 30 feet in front of him. It was so frustrating. But he now has really become what Pochettino saw in him, this very solid midfielder. I kind of think of him a lot like Moussa Dembele, not in the style of play, but here's what I wrote, that they're not the same type of player, but they are both strong and stabilizing in the midfield. You don't expect them to score, but they help the build-up in a critical way. So we see this in the article. I would encourage you to read it because, honestly, I think it's true that when you think about Moussa Sissoko, he's gone from unreliable to undroppable. So the last thing I wanted to do was talk about our starting 11. And so we'll take a look at my perspective lineup. And this is what I've got. So I've got Harry Kane up top. I've got Bergwijn on the left and Son on the right. Dele in the middle. Dyer and Sissoko in the defensive midfield positions. And I've got Davies, Alderweireld, Sanchez, and Aurier, and Lloris in goal. This is actually what I had before the Manchester United game, except I had Bergwijn and Son switched, which they were. On I'm really surprised that Dyer was in that center back pairing. I think a lot of people were. I don't know, but I just feel like Alderweireld's got to get some game time. And I think Dyer is a beloved kid from the standpoint of Jose Mourinho. So I still think he'll be on the pitch. I just don't think he'll be in the center back role. So not much of a change for Spurs in terms of their starting 11, but a couple things that I think will be important. So I would love to know, what's your starting 11? What do you think is going to happen? I think it's going to be a win. I hope it's going to be a win. We need it. We need to really get these points and start getting in the habit of winning, hopefully to get that 5th place spot and get that Champions League football. So anyway, that's the Tottenham News Digest for today. Thanks so much for watching, and as ever, it was great talking with you. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. There's a video here you could check out, or a video here you could check out. Come on, you Spurs.